Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. We're also going to be previewing the game against Brentford as well. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I've lost Ronaldo. That's why I'm late. So I'll explain that for you in a minute. But one of the player that we might be losing is Marcus Rashford. I mean, this has sort of come out from nowhere. I don't know what people's thoughts are about. We'll run a poll on it in a minute. But lots and lots of stories coming out this evening about Marcus Rashford. Now, we will have updates on Milinkovic-Savic, on Kladzic. Is it Kladzic? Oh, I forget the name. I forget all the names. De Jong, Mabry, Bailly, and a few other stories. Gakpo as well. But this is a really interesting story because it's coming from numerous outlets at the same time that Marcus Rashford could go to PSG. Now, look, I think it's the Telegraph or somebody say that Marcus Rashford's representatives were talking to PSG last week. Now, of course, this news, as we all know, will be met completely differently to the way it would be if it was Ronaldo, because as we know, foreign players get treated very differently compared to the British players. So, you know, I've just put it in the chat there. Should Rashford leave, yes or no? On Twitter, 83% said sell him. But Marcus Rashford's a Man United player. I cannot believe, and I do not believe actually, that his representatives have been talking to PSG last week. But the Telegraph have said that they have. That his brother was in Paris talking to PSG. You've got 2 years left on your contract, mate. Like that's ridiculous. So I don't think that's true. There is hints about that, but there's definitely something going on because loads and loads of outlets tonight are talking about PSG's interest in Rashford. And I mean, what are my thoughts on this? Absolutely no chance that Man United will sell Marcus Rashford this summer. He's got 2 years left on his deal because he's got 1 year and then the option of another year which we will activate. So he's got 2 years left on his deal. United won't sell him because there's only 3 weeks left of the window to go, and we've not even brought a midfielder or anything. So we couldn't even sell Rashford if we wanted to. But it's a weird old story. I've got to say, it's a very weird story, and you know, it won't be received in the same way as it would be if it was other players. But actually, as a fan of Rashford, and I know, you know, I'm in the minority here, but I do believe that there is a player there in Marcus Rashford. I've always said that. I also know he's gone missing for about 2 years. But even as a fan of Rashford, I've got to say, I would sell him. Yeah. Welcome, and I'll explain why in a minute. Welcome to Members Club, Nicholas Lawler. Stefan's been a member for 3 months. Dale says stained shirt bridge. Yeah, well, blame it on the water. I choked on it a little bit, and No, I don't know what that is. Toothpaste. It's all over me. I don't know what that is. Got toothpaste all over me. And our team could resemble De Gea, Malacia, Martinez, Varane, Dumfries, De Jong, Savic, Eriksen, Gakpo, Ronaldo and Antony if the Glazers' ambition and the transfer department had competence, says Matt Gwinnett. Yeah, look, I think in relation to Rashford, going back to it, there's lots to get through tonight. We've got to talk about the Brentford game. I will put the team on there in a minute. I've purposely kept it off. Why can't we sell him and buy Antony, says Jacob. Well, let me have my say on this. Mark, I don't know about you, but I've had a weird feeling with Rashford ever since he ran to give Tuchel a hug, says Connor. I like Rashford, but I'm going to speak from absolute honesty here. I would sell him. I think it's best for United. I think it's best for Rashford. And I think he should go. And I'll tell you for why. But it reminds me of the Pogba situation. Because I like Pogba. I liked Pogba. But it was very obvious it wasn't going to work at United. And I think the Pogba situation is very similar to Rashford. And I've never heard anybody said this. So bear with me on this. But I thought about this before I went live. When I was searching for Ronaldo. This Rashford situation reminds me of Pogba. But no media outlet or ex-player will figure it out because with Rashford, they're just blinded by the fact that he's come from the youth. But Pogba and Rashford are very similar. I believe they're both talented players. But Man United, the journey really needs to stop. It's become toxic. Pogba will probably be a better player at Juventus than he has been at Man United. A lot of the fans didn't want Rashford. Pogba. And I think Rashford's at that point now where, you know, I've got a video with Ricky and Adam tomorrow. Ricky said for years he doesn't rate Rashford. And, you know, I don't always agree with everything Ricky says, but it really surprised me how Ricky never rated Rashford because Ricky's been watching United for decades. There's no reason for him not to like a youth player that's from Manchester that's come through the club. That's what we all want. But I feel that with Rashford now, that it's a two-way street. There are fans that just don't really rate Rashford that much, and he'd almost need to be brilliant every week to win them back, and I don't know whether he can do that. And then from Rashford's point of view, I don't think Rashford's looked happy for a long time at United as well. It's a two-way street. This is what I mean. Now, I like Rashford. I accept he's not played well, but I've always, him and Martial were my favourite players until Bruno signed. So I like Rashford, but I've got to acknowledge, like Martial, not good enough. So haven't been good enough. Now he might just go like that. He might just light up and be fantastic for Ten Hag. But I think it's best for him. I think he's 25, coming up for 25. He needs a fresh start. United need a fresh start. And at 25, what a time to do it. So I actually think for footballing reasons, no hate. I like Rashford, as I say. I know some people don't, but I do. But even I, as a fan of Rashford, think it's time to go. Because it just feels like he's not comfortable at United. United don't feel comfortable with him. I don't think he's ever going to hit the expectations that he thinks he can at United and we expect. So I think a move is probably a good thing for him. And we've seen it countless times as well. A player moves into a new environment and suddenly they're really good again. And that's what I think should happen. Not for a million years do I think it'll happen. I don't think United will sell him now. I'm not sure Rashford wants to go. Manchester United, Marcus Rashford is our most marketable player after Ronaldo. He's got the most Twitter followers, the most Instagram followers. He's a massive brand. So I don't think United would want to lose that. And I don't know whether Rashford would want to lose Man United as well, because Man United, whether we win things or not, we're the most talked about team. So if you've got a book to sell or, a brand deal to get, walking away from United's a dangerous thing to do. So would Rashford put football over that side of things? Would United put football over that side of things? And again, it's a two-way street. I don't think Rashford will leave United, and I don't think United will let Rashford go. But I don't think it's for footballing reasons. I think it's for other reasons. And I do think that if Rashford wants to rescue his career, and then I do think he probably should go. I don't think it will happen though, if I'm honest. His team is using PSG to get a new deal, just like during his last renewal. United will offer him a new deal. PR spin in the media, asset protected, says Damien. Yeah, but I think it's backfired, mate. I think it's backfired. I think you're right, and I'll come back to that. If we sell Rashford, I'd give this transfer window a 9 out of 10. He's awful, says Sean Turner. Players know that they can come to us and not be sold even if they don't perform. A dream move, says Littal. United need to pull their finger out there. Glazers out. They are destroying our club. Keep up the great work, Mark, says Al Aiza. Rashford won't play anyway, both at United and at PSG. That's the reason why we're still looking for a new winger, and he knows that, says Humphrey. If he wasn't English and didn't come through the youth system, the sentimental feeling wouldn't be there. Got to be ruthless and get him sold, says Jobby. Not a bad word to say about Rashford, but if we don't sell him now, we are stuck with another underperforming player on huge wages, says Paul. I sort of agree with that. Never felt he was an intelligent player. Might be too early, but Garnacho appears more intelligent, says Summerjet. I'm excited to see Eric Ten Hag line up. Let's see if he can change the players that didn't perform or does an ollie and sticks to the same old rubbish. Talking about that next, Jack. And Gakpo plays in the Rashford position. Since there is news that we're going for Gakpo, maybe his Rashford side is putting out about PSG, says Kartik. Time for Marcus to go. We hang on to players way too long and then it becomes toxic. I mean, that was from Pauline Brooks as well. I think there's a really good, and why wouldn't there be, very, very intelligent set of a community. I think you're right. I don't think he's going anywhere. I actually do think this is spin. And I think that this PSG interest is to basically make United give him a new contract because he wants a new contract. That's what I think it is. Let's call it what it is. I think this is completely meant to be for Man United's benefit to give him a new contract because he's talking to PSG, allegedly. It's the same when he didn't play against Man City. It was after the Manchester derby and he didn't start and he came on and he walked about. On the Monday, there was loads of stories about the phones ringing off the hook for Rashford. We should have called a bluff then. We should have said, oh, is it? Because our phone's not rung at all. It's really weird how all these clubs are ringing you, Marcus, but they're not ringing us. So, and look, it wasn't Marcus who put it out there. God knows who put it out there. But I do think this is to try and make United give him a contract. And I think United should call the bluff because, as I say, this is a poll with you lot. Should Rashford leave? 78% say yes. 22% say no. I did the same poll on Twitter a couple of hours ago and it was 83% say yes. That's ridiculous. If anyone from Man United's watching, you need to listen to this. If you're thinking about giving him a new contract because PSG are interested, listen to what some fans are saying. Over 75% would sell Rashford. That's amazing. Amazing. Considering the transfer window we've had, how few options we've got up front, and 75% of fans would still sell him. That is really a mountain to climb for Rashford, isn't it? To get back in with the fans. And the club would be... what has he done to earn a contract in the last 2 years as well? I think he will get a new contract. I was told 2 months ago United are working on a new contract. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I think United will offer a new contract. And I think that's another example of how out of touch they are about football things. And a Rashford contract is basically about the brand, isn't it? They shouldn't offer him a new contract. And if he is trying to get a new contract by PSG links, I'd call the bluff and say, when are PSG putting an offer in then? Because, you know, realistically, if Gakpo comes in, he should be benching Rashford if he's better than him. That's what should happen. So I don't think anything's going to happen here, but I don't think if it's whoever, what I would say is I think you've got to read everything, whether it's real or it's a PR stunt. Who's the winner here? Who wins out of this story? Because all I see is loads of stories about PSG wanting Rashford and he might go. And then all United fans have done is gone, good, sell him. So what was the point of that story? You know, every story has a point. Explain to me what the point is. Mark, if he does go, how much do you think we'd get and who would you replace him with? Well, Dylan, you could replace him with Gakpo for 40 million and sell him for 50. You're 10 million up. We need to sell the donkeys, not the gazelles. He has speed and technical ability, just needs coaching, says Ben. Breaking news, Adrian Rabiot is moving closer to joining Man United in a 20 million deal, says Jim White. Slow sports news from Jim White, yellow tie. Selling Rashford is a win-win situation. Send a message that no player is bigger than the club. I won't even mind if we don't sign anyone else to replace him. I mean, I think there's a player there, and I do like him, and I wish he would turn it around because I think he is a good player. But on the other hand, if they gave us 50 million, I'd take it right now. Right now. Even if we actually sold him, I don't believe we'd even be able to replace him. Bet you they'd package Elanga or Garnacho as a replacement, says Joshua. Hi Mark, do you think United would get Anthony if Rashford ends up leaving? Much love from Norway, says Tobias. And Mark, what you saying, brother? You're foolish. Rashford would definitely do good somewhere else. This is a joke. Love what you do, says Marcus Brown. Welcome to Members Club, Football Maniac. I've never said he wouldn't do well elsewhere. I actually think there's a good player there. I was hoping that, you know, he was going to prove us all wrong this season, and he still can do. He definitely still can do. He could have scored 2 goals against Brighton if he, you know. So, you know, it's fine margins, but as I say, what's the point of that story? Why have so many French outlets heard about PSG wanting Rashford? Why is that there? Why are French outlets talking about Rashford wanting PSG wanting Rashford? And why the Telegraph saying that Rashford representatives were in France last week? And why was Rashford's representatives in France when the season's just starting and he's got 2 years left on his contract? Why is that happening? It's one thing Ronaldo saying he wants to leave, but why is Rashford speaking to PSG with 2 years left on his deal? That's just weird. So I don't know what the point of this story is. If the point of the story is to make United give him a new contract and United fans to go, please don't go Marcus, it's backfired because most fans have gone sell him. So I don't know what the story... I always, and I'm sure many of you are the same, when a story comes out, I always think, what is the angle on this story? If it's a new contract, that's not worked. If it's to make United fans think, don't sell Rashford, that's not worked. Is it because he wants to go to PSG? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Carlos says, if we sell Rashford, can we get Anthony? Says Carlos, probably. Swap Rashford for Anthony, says Darren. Yeah, well, I don't think Ajax can afford his wages. Today you said Eric Ten Hag should have provided option B. Earlier you said no one should provide option B, else United will go for option B. What should a manager do, says Anshaman. I don't know what you're talking about, Anshaman. I will try and interpret it. Basically, a new manager should get option A. And then we don't need to talk about option B. When a manager hands a list in, you should get option A. That's what you should get. But apparently Ten Hag didn't really offer any option Bs. He was like, I just want De Jong, I just want De Jong, I just want De Jong. And that is why we're now desperately going for people like Rabiot, because he never really wanted a plan B. And now he's realising he's got to get a plan B. So it's desperate. Let's talk about the Brentford game anyway, because we could talk about Rashford all night and there's a lot to get through. Ricky is our Claude. He was ahead of the curve on so many players we had that just are not good enough, says David. You say there's a good player there, but do you believe he could be world class? That's what we need to catch City and Liverpool, says Eamon McAllister. No, I remember about, I think 4 years ago, there was a tweet about Rashford being like Ronaldo or scoring as many goals as Ronaldo had at 21. And I said, I cannot believe there are people comparing Rashford to Ronaldo. Having seen Ronaldo at 21, there is no comparison. I think I actually got a reply from his agency or something. You know, I can't remember what it was. I'm sure I did. And I was like, I'm not being disrespectful. I like Rashford, but he's nowhere near Ronaldo. And no, he will never be world class. No, he won't be world class now. Very few players at 25 suddenly become world class. So I don't think he'll ever be world class, but he can be a top class player. There's a difference between world class and top class. He can be a very, very good player. What worries me about Rashford is, technically, I don't think, and I've never thought it, I don't think Rashford's a particularly good player when he has to think about it. I think Rashford's a flair player. When he doesn't think about it, that's when he always did good. When he just skips past the player and shoots, that's when he's good. I think he needs to change his game. He needs to slow his game down and mix it up a little bit. But I also think he's been figured out a bit. How many times has Rashford skipped past players now? You know, not very often. I think players have figured him out and he needs to adapt his game. Adamia, welcome to Members Club. Is this not the sacrificial lamb you spoke about? I don't believe it, but plus wrong end of the window, says Ray. You know what? I ain't going to sell Rashford. They're not going to sell Rashford. I don't believe it at all. Anyway, we are playing Brentford at the weekend, and that is obviously, I haven't put Ronaldo up front because I've lost him. I haven't got a Ronaldo. I can't put him on the screen. I haven't got one. So there is 10 players there, but I would start Ronaldo where the gap is. So that's why I was late. I was trying to find a Ronaldo and I couldn't find one. So there we go. So that's how I would line up against Brentford. Brentford were 2-0 down against Leicester on Sunday when we were playing Brighton and losing. They came back to 2-2 away from home. So Brentford again this season are going to be a team who really, Rashford's 24, he's going to be 25 in a few months, JK. Maybe if you listen from the start of the show, you'd be running through the show and understanding what we're talking about. So basically, Brentford played really well last week. And you look at their team and you go, look, they're very beatable. But again, we're going to be playing a team that plays as a team. And we saw that against Brighton. If it was on paper, we would have won that game. But it's on grass or synthetic grass or whatever they use these days. So we are going to play Brentford. They're going to be well organised. We should win this game. It's amazing that this is a must-win game already. Because if we lose to Brentford and we lose to Liverpool at home, we'll have no points from 9. If we draw to Brentford and lose to Liverpool, we'll have 1 point from 9. So it's a must-win game against Brentford, which we'll talk about in a minute. But on Brentford, we know what they are. They're exactly what they say on the tin. They should be sponsored by Ron Seal. They'll be well organised. They'll be at it. It's a tight ground. It's their first home game of the season, which is a bit of a concern. They've got a new signing in Damsgaard who may start or may not, and they're going to be up for it. And we're going to have to play well to beat them, or they're going to have a bad day, which I don't think they are. I do not think Brentford, first game of the season, at their ground, I know it's the second game of the season, but it's their first game of the season at home, sunny evening, Saturday, London, atmosphere. This is going to be difficult. This is going to be really difficult. So we're going to have to be at our best. Remember how people in media were out at Ronaldo when there was a news he wanted to leave? Now watch how they come in to protect Rashford in 3-2-1, says Sarvish. Well, we know this. Darren Roberts, welcome to them. Thank you for the super chat. Sam, welcome to the Members Club. So I think the big thing for this game is, does Ten Hag make changes? Somebody said it very earlier on a super chat, and they were absolutely spot on. Is Ten Hag, well, it's not is Ten Hag this, is Ten Hag that. Is Ten Hag the man who will make changes to his team? Is Ten Hag the man that will walk into this game and change a team that lost and make loads of changes? And that's what we're going to find out. And I'm very, very interested to see what he will do, because I think he has to make changes in this game. He cannot send out the same team that embarrassed themselves against Brighton. So, De Gea in goal, because whether you like De Gea or not, I mean, there are people on Twitter who are doing compilations of De Gea's mistakes over the last 3 years, and I'm like, it ain't the time. Whether you rate De Gea or not, we're not putting Tom Heaton in goal, and we've got a million other problems before we start talking about that again. So, De Gea in goal, Delo at right back, Malacia at left back, big Luke Shaw fan, really want him to do well, but enough is enough. He needs to be benched, and a message needs to be sent. So, Malacia's got to come in at left back. He had a good pre-season. I thought he was a bit unlucky not to start against Brighton. Shaw didn't play well against Brighton. Malacia's got to start. So that's change one. Martinez, I would keep in the team. He didn't play that well against Brighton, but you've spent 55 million euros on him. He's your signing. He knows how you want to play. You've got to stick with him. Maguire wasn't particularly bad against Brighton, but when Manchester United are not particularly bad is not good enough to stay in a team. His lack of pace was a problem. Welbeck exploited it. If Antony ain't slow, why risk it again? Varane is quick, he's fit, he's better than Maguire. It might be a bit harsh. I don't think Maguire was terrible against Brighton, but Varane is better and quicker, and we're away from home, and we want to play a high line. Varane has to start. Now, you could, there is a theory here, and I'm not against it. You could play Maguire and Varane and put Martinez in the midfield, but I've gone with Varane and Martinez. So Varane comes in, Maguire gets benched. In the midfield, you've got to drop McTominay. You have to drop McTominay. If he starts on Saturday, he'll probably play well and get man of the match. But it's the bad message to send, because he's going to do it again. He's consistently not good enough. So even if he plays against Brentford and plays well, he'll let you down against Liverpool and everybody else. So he's got to be dropped. That has to stop. He's got to be dropped. 100%. Whether you love him or not, he has to be dropped. And the question is, who do you play instead? Now, Fred probably deserves to be dropped as well, but you can't drop Fred and McTominay because we don't have enough players to do that. So I would play Fred and Donny because I think if you play Fred and Eriksen, it's quite a small midfield, and at least Donny's 6 foot and he can put his foot in. It's not ideal. The midfield, I can't believe we've started the season with the midfield that we've got without buying anybody. But McTominay has to be dropped. We were better in the second half against Brighton. I would go with Donny and Fred simply because Fred and McTominay couldn't pass wind. And at least if you put Donny in there, you know he can pass. You could put Eriksen there. You definitely could. Now for me, I've put Bruno there. I've made a mistake. I would not have put Bruno in there. I have made a mistake. So for me, Eriksen would play. So sorry about that. I can make mistakes. I was panicked because I'd lost Ronaldo. I'm panicking because, hey, up! What's going on? Hello? Snake Bridge. I don't know what I've clicked there. Yeah, so it would be Eriksen for me, not Bruno. Tired of seeing all the other teams getting their business done, says Kia. You're assuming Erik Ten Hag has the power and not the players. I, too, like to live dangerously, says MI. Robin, thought midfield was so bad I'd put Lissandro Martinez as DM. I wouldn't disagree with that. Bruno left midfield, Van der Beek at Cam and Eriksen beside Garner or Fred in the double pivot, says Noah. I hope we sell Rashford. I know he's an extra forward we need, but the way he's played this last 2 years, we won't be missing much, says Waleed. So, is there a chance we could go for Mitrovic? Absolutely no chance at all. Absolutely no chance. So, yeah, I'd go Donny and Fred, because McTominay has to be dropped completely. You could drop Fred, but I actually felt sorry for Fred, to be fair. He was played out of position, so I would play Fred. I mean, who else are you going to play? Eriksen, drop Bruno. 100% drop Bruno. I love Bruno, but he's got to be dropped. We've got to send a message out that no matter who you are, you can be dropped. Bruno needs dropping. He does. He needs dropping. He's not played well since we gave him a contract he probably shouldn't have got. So 100% needs dropping. Eriksen plays, especially because he's playing against Brentford. Eriksen has to play. Sancho off the Sancho off the right and Rashford off the left because we've got nobody else really. And then Ronaldo through the middle. So that's how I would do it. But I would be making 1, 2, 3, 4 changes. 5 changes. Ronaldo comes in up front. Eriksen goes to 10. Donny comes in for McTominay. Malacia comes in for Shaw. And Varane comes in for Maguire. Do I think he'll do that? No, Maguire will 100% start. I think Shaw will start. I think Bruno will start. So it's down to the manager now. I would make those changes. Bruno, Maguire, Shaw, McTominay, all dropped, all on the bench. I think Maguire will start. I think Shaw will start. I think Bruno will start. Wouldn't surprise me if McTominay starts, but surely he won't. But yeah, you've got to drop players, definitely. Ronaldo and Donny played really off each other against Brighton. Really hope to see more of that, says Alec. Yeah, I agree. And No Gas, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. So in relation to the game itself, it's a minefield. It really, really is. I mean, Brentford. I didn't disrespect Brighton. I just thought we'd win. I think Graham Potter's a fantastic coach, and I think the way Brighton plays is fantastic. But I thought at home, first game of the season, new manager, we'd have enough to beat Brighton, and we didn't. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. We're away to Brentford, who are well organised. We've got a better team on paper, but they're a better team together. That will be a really difficult game on Saturday night, and I think it's going to be quite tight. And I'm going to go with a win because we have to win. Like, there's no point messing about here and going, oh, it could be a draw or we could get beat. No points from 3. Sorry, no points from the first game. Liverpool is coming up soon. I don't know how we get a result against Liverpool. I have got no idea. Before the season started, I thought beat Brentford, beat Brighton, and would have a bit of a buzz at home to Liverpool. I don't see how we're going to get anything out of Liverpool. We're nowhere near good enough. So you've got to assume we're going to lose to Liverpool, and if we get something, it's a bonus. So we've already got 2 losses out of our first 3 games because I can't see anything other than a loss against Liverpool. Which means we've got to beat Brentford just to have 3 points from 9. Because if we don't beat Brentford, God knows where we'll be. 0 points from 9, 1 point from 9. We have to beat Brentford. There is a lot of pressure on us. Now, the horrible thing is, when United are under pressure and they need to win, we don't normally deliver. But we've never been in this situation before where it's a new manager. What's Ten Hag been up to this week? Ronaldo starting from the start. If he does make a few changes, that's why I would. You bring Varane into that team, he's a winner. You bring Ronaldo into that team, he's a winner. You bring Malacia into that team instead of Shaw, it's a positive change. So I'm hoping he's going to make the changes I've put in there. And I think we've got to win. But I think if we do win, I don't think it's going to be 3 or 4-0. I hope it is, but I think it will be a moment. I do. You know, maybe a moment of brilliance from Ronaldo, maybe a corner. I think it'll be a tight game. And if we're going to win it 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, I don't see it being a comfortable win as much as I would like it to. I think it's going to be a really tough game. But I'm going to go for a win. I'm not confident about a win. But believe me, we have to win. Because if we don't win, I mean, imagine. I'm not talking about the fan base. I have faith in the fan base that they won't do this. But imagine the media if we've got 1 point from 9 or 0 points from 9 after Liverpool. Don't talk to me about patience then. They'll be on it. They'll be on it. And they won't think about whether he's been backed in the summer transfer window. They'll be like, should they have gone for Poch? You know it's already written. Now, I don't think you'll do it, and I certainly won't do it. But we could be in a situation where we're 1 point from 9 after Liverpool. And, somebody just said there, well, what would you do if we did have 1 point from 9 or near no points from 9? Surely you've got to blame the manager. I blame the board. I blame Arnold, and I blame Murta, and I blame the players. You said it couldn't get any worse. Let's be honest. We're a team in free fall with players disgruntled, says William Brooks. I did say it could get worse, though, didn't I? Changes for Brentford is a must. Erik Ten Hag needs to show the players and the fans he's boss, and he has the power, says Jordan. Yeah, I mean, there is that angle as well. I mean, I'd make the changes because of the way we played, but also I think the manager needs to... If he doesn't put his foot down now, he'll never put his foot down. So it is a big game for Ten Hag. I'm looking forward to his press conference tomorrow as well. Mark, are we starting the game with a red card? Why only 10 men in your lineup? Because I can't find fucking Ronaldo. He's left already. Ronaldo's playing, but I can't find the Ronaldo card. So I can't put him in, but Ronaldo's the forward. Thank you very much for the chat, the super chat though, Bew. Imagine thinking against 15 out of 20 teams we can count the wins, scary times. It may be a chance we get relegated, says Jay. We won't get relegated. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to United, but I think it's going to be a hard watch on Saturday. I'd love us to absolutely smash them, but I think it will be a hard watch. We'll have to wait and see. But I think if he makes those changes, I'll be a lot more confident. I always felt last year we were a better team with Varane in it. I think we're a better team with Ronaldo in it. And I think we'll play better football with Donny and Eriksen than we will with McTominay and Bruno. So let's hope that happens, really. Why do you think so many of our fans would agree that the team you selected should be the one put out, yet our management and higher-ups can't see this and won't do this? It feels so obvious to so many, says Matt. Well, we don't have the advantage of training the players, of course. But, I mean, logically, let's just, before we move on, let's just go through that. What are the changes I would make? So for Varane for Maguire, I mean, come on. He's a 4-time Champions League winner. He's one of the best centre-backs in the world when he's fit. He's better than Maguire. It's not even rocket science. It's not even controversial. Maguire out for Varane. Most managers would do it. Pep would do it. Klopp would do it. Tuchel would do it. Why won't we do it? So that's not even controversial. I don't think Maguire played bad last week, but Varane's better than him. And he's quicker than him. And we want to play a high line. So Varane for Maguire, I don't know why it doesn't happen. It's weird. Nothing against Harry, but Varane's better than you. So that's not controversial to me, but I guarantee Varane sits on the bench on Saturday. Left back, I like Luke Shaw, but he's not the player he was for some reason. Malacia deserves to start. Not controversial. McTominay dropped. Not controversial. Who plays there? Well, I would go with Donny, but you could put Garner there. You could try Eriksen there, but I'd go with Donny, so that's not controversial. Bruno dropped to play Eriksen at 10. Not controversial at all. Bruno's not played well for weeks. So that's not controversial. And Ronaldo, they're not controversial changes, but I guarantee we won't get them all. The club will sell Rashford and use the funds for another dividend, says Atul. Mark, doesn't Garnacho remind you of a young Ronaldo, says Reza. No, not really. It doesn't remind me of a young Ronaldo at all. Because I saw young Ronaldo and he wasn't like that. The way he moved on the ball, you know, the step overs. No, I think Garnacho reminds me. He doesn't really remind me of anyone. He just looks like a good footballer that I want to see get more game time. Thank you for your 2-1 career mode prediction. Surely can't be this lot, says Sean O'Rourke. And Ronaldo is under Rashford. Move Rashford. He's not. He's definitely not. That's Alanga. And I ain't doing that. I don't know where Alanga is. Oh, Alanga's there. Yeah, get rid of it. Okay. So yeah, big game on Saturday. It's terrifying to say it's a must-win game for United. It's a season-defining game for Man United. Because if we lose, we're going to have no points from 6, and then we've got Liverpool. I mean, yeah. I mean, and the season's not going to get any quicker, is it? Easier. Bew, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. So, in other news, let's just go through some other news. Ryan Miles, welcome to the Members Club. Mark, do you have confidence on the board that they sell Rashford and buy Anthony? They're higher chance of buying Jamie Demba. No, not a chance, Jay. Not a chance. I mean, literally, I would say that if Rashford wanted to go to PSG and PSG wanted Rashford and they were going to give us 50 million quid, I'd do that deal now. And then I'd use that 50 million to get Anthony. So I'd call the bluff. Hi Mark, I would be interested in branching the United stand out to the USA. I have lots of podcast experience. Please let me know what I could do, says Marcus Brown. Yeah, get in contact, Marcus. We're always happy to talk. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way, everybody. Bottom right hand corner, we're really close to 415,000. I think we're only about 30 away. So bottom right hand corner to subscribe. It's that corner, isn't it? Please get involved with the United stand. Biggest week for the relationship between Erik Ten Hag and the fans, says Matty. Week 1 was a test run. This week, changes need to be made. Says Matty FC. Otherwise, fans will be mad. People don't realise how good young Ronaldo was, says Damien. And Van der Beek over McTominay. I agree with that, Bjorn. Does McTominay as a striker remind you of young Ronaldo, says MM? Let's not lose track. I think Matty makes a great point, though. I hadn't really thought of it like that, but it's a big week for Ten Hag in his relationship with the fans. Now, Ten Hag may not be a fan who gives a shit. He might be, look, I'm the boss, I don't really care about fan opinion, which is absolutely fine. I think that's not a bad way to be. But it doesn't mean that your relationship with the fans can't be damaged this week. If we start the game against Brentford with the same team from Brighton, then he's going to get a lot of stick. And people are going to go, he's just another Ollie. He's just picking his favourites again. He has to drop 3 or 4 players. And I hope he does. I don't know whether he will. I don't know. Let's not pass judgment until we know. There's no point getting your knickers in a twist about something that you don't know. But Mourinho would have dropped a few players. Pep would do it. Klopp would do it. Tuchel would do it. And therefore Ten Hag should do it. They let him down in the season opener on his first game. His record as a Man United manager is 100% defeat. That's what it is. He's played one game and he's lost it. Those players let him down. He has to make changes because he's got better players on the bench. Varane is better than both those centre-backs. Malacia deserves to start over Shaw. McTominay deserves to be dropped. And Ronaldo should start. So he's got to make 4 changes for me. If he doesn't make them, it's a puzzler. And it will make people go, what has changed at this football club? I've seen this for the last 3 years. Players that should be dropped, not being dropped. And, you know, we've seen it with Eric Bailly, with Maguire and Lindelof. We've seen it with Donny, with McTominay and Fred. We've seen it with Martial under Mourinho and Rashford. You know, we've seen it so many times, favourites. And we don't want to be that anymore. So it is a big test. You're right. Definitely. Rashford out, Russo in, says Davies. And Nunez and Haaland is already in the score sheet. And we can't even bag a single player who is manager's first choice, says Drub. Well, moving towards a bit of transfer news. I suppose we'll start with De Jong. De Jong, the situation is that whilst there was expected to be some progression, and there still could be in the next 24 hours, he is still clinging on to staying at Barcelona. And we might end up in a situation, I was speaking to somebody today, pretty good journalist out in Barcelona, and they were saying that Barcelona want to sell him and they expect he's going to go. But you can't rule out the fact that De Jong just takes a pay cut and stays. It would be ridiculous for him because he'd be giving up a lot of money. But apparently his girlfriend or wife really likes living in Barcelona. He never wanted to leave Barcelona. He might make that decision. Still, even now, Chelsea are getting it as well. All right, you can agree a deal with me, but I want to stay at Barcelona. So in a way, it's good for us, but in a way, who knows what's going to happen? I think there was this feeling that Chelsea were just going to swoop in, and because they've got Champions League football, he'd go. But De Jong is still saying, I'm not going. So who knows how quickly this will get resolved. Could the board try to push us to get Neymar via Rashford swap, says Omar? Don't think so. If Maguire and McTominay start, we know it's not Ten Hag picking the team, says Sir Ben. Thoughts on Michael Knighton allegedly saying he'll form a consortium and take over Man United by persuading the Glazers, says Ryan. Well, I had a bit of a Twitter back and forth with Michael Knighton today because he put a tweet out sort of talking about Twitter podcast trolls and nasties and that. And I replied and I went, look, you should be trying to unite the fan base if you're going to get a consortium, and people are just concerned that there's no meat on the bones. And he replied and said, you know, I can't remember what he said, but I sort of said, look, at the end of the day, you can understand why fans are wary. We've been lied to for 17 years. This is quite a big thing if someone's buying to buy the club. Everyone's anxious to get behind it, but they're wary that what's the true story? You've done a video saying you've got a consortium that's going to do a hostile takeover. A hostile takeover, if you know anything about financials, is not actually easy to do because of the way that the Glazers have set up their shares. So, you know, we need a little bit more information, and I don't think it's the time if you're trying to put a consortium together to get into arguments on Twitter. So, look, if I was Michael Knighton, I would just be focusing on trying to get a little bit more meat on the bones and put some information out there, because apparently the Glazers are not concerned at all about this. And I'm very fearful that this could just be another story that's forgotten about in no time. So I'm hoping there's more substance to it. And when there is, I think more people, if there is, will get on board with it. But at the moment, we've been lied to so many times, you can understand why United fans are a bit dubious. Do you think Damsgaard will play for Brentford this week? And if so, are you worried for the midfield to shake? Look, Damsgaard's a good player, but you know, I hope he does play, because if we do win, I want us to play well. And if we play well, I think we will win. Could the board, we've done that from Omar. Apparently on Eric Bailly, it was from Rob Dawson that with Eric Bailly, there's quite a lot of clubs interested. West Ham, Sevilla, Roma and Monaco. I don't care how many clubs are interested in Eric Bailly. We need to get a fee. Wasn't even on the bench against Brighton. Even though Lindelof wasn't fit, still Eric Bailly wasn't on the bench. So that means Eric Bailly is fifth choice centre-back. So we need to move Eric Bailly on. It cannot be a loan move. So I'll be very sad the day that Eric Bailly leaves, but it's got to be a deal. We've got to get some money in. Mike, welcome to the members club, and also Mark. Don't you think the move for Arnautovic has been initiated and then stopped so that the fans accept any player other than him? The Glazers love lowering everyone's expectations, says Ash. You know what, Ash? I'd give the fan base a little bit more at this point. I think those days are gone. You're right. You can manipulate the fan base so that they go, well, at least it's not Arnautovic, and that's probably happened in the past. But I think we're way past that now. I really do. I don't think the fan base. I think the fan base is just generally pissed off, and I don't think they can be. You know, if we don't get De Jong and we buy Milinkovic-Savic, I don't think the fans are going to go, well, I'm quite happy with that. I think they'll go, that's a joke. Why didn't you get De Jong? So I don't think the Glazers can find a way out of this, or Arnold, unless they get the players that they were meant to get. And I'm still saying what I said a few days ago. The only way they can sort of get out of this is keeping Ronaldo, signing Anthony and De Jong. And you know, if we get Rabiot as well, I'd be quite I'll take that on board. I really would. But I mean, the Telegraph are saying that Milinkovic-Savic would be available for £42 million, but Milinkovic-Savic cannot play in the position that De Jong is meant to be playing for us. Taking the ball off the back four we need somebody to take the ball off the back four. That's what we need. We can buy Milinkovic-Savic and we can play him in the McTominay role as a box to box, but we need someone who can take the ball off the back four. And if you get Milinkovic-Savic to do that, and you know anything about Milinkovic-Savic, you're going to lose a big part of his game, which is actually in the attacking half of the pitch. So Milinkovic-Savic is not a replacement for De Jong. De Jong's going to come into that team and take the ball off the back four. We all know that. He can carry the ball, he can get in the final third because we'll play a high press, but, you know, two very different players. What point do we give up on Frankie de Jong and look at elsewhere, says Alex? I don't think we will, Alex. I think the point we give up on Frankie de Jong is when he signs for Chelsea or he takes a pay cut at Barcelona. I think United will stay in there till the end, which is probably what they should do, to be fair. Apparently, Ranić has said that... I can't remember this now. Let me just get this. I need to just double check so I get this right. Kaladzic is Austrian. That's right. So Kaladzic, I spoke about him this morning. 25-year-old, 6'7", Stuttgart striker. United have been linked to him. Apparently, according to Sky Sports Germany, Ranić has said to Kaladzic, "Don't go to United. Stay where you are." Now, people will jump on that straight away and go, "Oh, fuck off, Ranić. He's just bitter." Well, he's got every right to be bitter because Ranić's the director of football we should have. But is he not wrong as well? Like, he is the Austrian coach. Would you want, arguably, your best striker to go to Man United, or would you want him to stay at Stuttgart where he's going to play every week? Because if he comes to United, Ranić knows the mess at United and also knows that Kaladzic will probably spend most of his time sat on the bench. So I don't think that's necessarily Ranić being bitter. That's probably Ranić being the Austrian coach, wanting his striker to play regularly. If that's true, anyway. We'll be linked with Wesley Sneijder again soon, says Roro. Thank you very much for the super chat. And what point do we give up? We've done that one from Alex about De Jong. So, yeah, Kaladzic, that's just a story from Sky Sports Germany. Two things, actually. Mabry is apparently going to go on loan, and we're going to hear where in the very near future. I think that's the right thing to do with Mabry. Got so many attacking midfield options with Eriksen and Donny and Bruno. I think Mabry needs to play regular football, and training with the first team is not going to be as good for him as playing 30, 40 games. I think the Championship would be great for him. I really do. So let's see where he ends up going. But a more worrying story, and you might have seen this. I'm going to talk about Gakpo in a minute. A few stories today about James Garner leaving Man United on a permanent deal. Nottingham Forest can't get Garner on loan because they've got Henderson on loan. You can't have two loans from the same club. They really want Garner. and apparently they want him on a permanent deal. Now, what I spoke to someone about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and they said to me, United are thinking about it. And my initial reaction, as I'm sure yours is, why would we sell James Garner? But then I thought about it and I thought, well, actually, if we'd got De Jong and another midfielder, maybe a Tielemans or a Lema or whoever, if we got De Jong and another midfielder, then selling Garner with a buyback clause probably wouldn't be a bad idea because you've always got that buyback clause. But selling him now, it just doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't know. I know the plan with Garner was that he was going to go on loan. That's what Ten Hag wanted to do with him. But he's so short in the midfield, he might have to keep him now. Our shortgoings in the first team are so obvious that we forget that squads with better depth will have the advantage because of 5 subs, says Paraz. We're in a terrible state, Paraz. I don't think anybody is hiding away from that. We know, you only had to look at the bench last week. All right, Ronaldo was on it, but attacking-wise, we've got no depth at all. Absolutely got no depth. If you want to take Rashford off, you've got to bring Elanga on. So we are really not set up. We haven't even got a first team, let alone 5 subs. Hi Mark, I think selling Rashford is a small step in the right direction. It shows no one is bigger than the club. Look, Ty, it surprises me a little bit, but the general consensus tonight from the Man United fan base is sell Rashford. And we're constantly saying that fans should be listened to. And just because I disagree with that, or a few people disagree with that, I've got to be honest, it surprised me the vast majority would sell Rashford. And I think maybe the club should be taking note of that. Because, if Rashford is talking to PSG, I would be saying, well, where's the offer then? Because if it's meant to be making United offer a new contract, United should be very wary that the fans clearly don't want him to get a new contract. So, look, sometimes you're going to be in the minority. I wouldn't sell Rashford this summer. I really wouldn't. But, a lot of you would. And if you could get 40, 50 million pound for him right now, and you could use it towards a Gakpo or an Anthony, then why not? Andy McCulloch, welcome to Members Club. And that brings me nicely onto something, actually. There was a story today. I can't remember where it was from, and I think it was covered by Beth anyway. But there was definitely a story today. It may have been from the Telegraph because they've been quite active today. If it wasn't the Telegraph, I apologise. It might have been somebody else who's not going to get the credit. But there was a story today that Manchester United, if they got Frankie de Jong, would not be able to go for Gakpo because they haven't got enough money. So, am I putting 2 and 2 to 2 and 2 together and getting Matic, or am I putting 2 and 2 together and getting 4? If you sell Rashford, you get your money for Gakpo. Are you better off with Gakpo or Rashford? Because if you buy De Jong and the money's gone, you've got Rashford. If you buy De Jong, you sell Rashford, you get Gakpo. Maybe that's far-fetched. Maybe there's something in it. Maybe Man United should be looking at that option. But Arman says, Mark, you said in the last video we should sack Ten Hag. Do you still think that? Yeah, I never said that, did I, twat? If we sell Garner, we give the Scousers more to laugh at, says Ben Shaw. I tell you what, Arman, you'll be saying sack Ten Hag way before I will. It makes me laugh how, we get accused of being negative, and yet I stuck by Mourinho and Solskjaer way past a lot of people in the chat. So, and I don't want a medal for that because I was wrong, but I very rarely... I went early on Van Gaal. I did go early on Van Gaal. I said at Christmas, get rid of him, and he didn't get sacked till May. But yeah, I was late on Mourinho because I wanted him to do well, and I was late on Ollie because I don't know. I think you know what? It was emotions with Ollie. I just didn't want to have to say those words, and ultimately, I should have said it a lot earlier. But whatever. Like Metal says, it's nothing to be proud of. Nothing to be proud of. Look, Gakpo, apparently we haven't got the money to buy him if we get De Jong. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Because I think it's interesting. But ultimately, I think with Marcus Rashford, it's really about how much we can get for him. And I never thought I'd be talking about it like that, but it's... I mean, look, I've even heard Juventus being linked to Anthony Martial right now. It's like, we theoretically, we can't sell any forwards, but if you... The way I would put it is, people say, and even I think, we can't sell Rashford with 3 weeks of the window left because we're short up front. But if you sell Rashford and you don't get Gakpo, what's the difference between selling Rashford and getting Gakpo? You're in the same position. So, you know, you understand the logic. A lot of people would say we can't sell Rashford because we're short up front in the attacking positions. But if we keep Rashford and we don't sign Gakpo, we're still short. If we sell Rashford and we get Gakpo, we're in the same position, but maybe Gakpo's better than Rashford. So, you know, logically, it probably makes sense to do that. But I can't in a million years think that United will do anything about this at all. I really don't think they will. And I think it's just paper talk. I think the most interesting thing for me is, why is it out there? Why is it out there? And what's the angle? And maybe the angle is he wants to go to PSG. Maybe that's what it is. Because if it's about getting a new contract or making United fans go, don't go, please don't go. You know, maybe Marcus Rashford sat at home tonight going, I can't believe how many United fans want me to go. Get me out of here. I don't know. I personally wouldn't do it, but I don't know how quick we could do other deals in 3 weeks. And also, suppose, all right, let's play a game. How much do you think Rashford's worth? Why is it okay for Rashford to want to move, but Ronaldo gets hate for having standards, says Scott? Well, we don't know that Rashford wants to move, do we? But he would get treated differently anyway, because he's English, and that's how it works. You get treated differently at United if you're from the youth or you're British compared to the foreign players. We've seen it all the time. I mean, Graham Souness was on TalkSport the other day talking about Man United, and guess what? He spoke about Martial and Pogba. Like, you know. But that's just the way it is. We know it. Hi, Mark. Is it true that the club is £600 million in debt because of the Glazers? I think it's 500 million, Brian, but it's a lot of money, yes. A few people are saying 45, a few 35s, a few 30s. I think Marcus Rashford's worth 50 million at least. Yeah. I've heard some people saying 70, but I think we'd get 50 million quite comfortably for Rashford. And I know many of you would laugh, but remember, he's not just a footballer. You get a lot more with Rashford. And PSG would know that. So I think we would get 50 million quid for Rashford. You know, 3 years ago, you would have wanted 100. Same as Martial, isn't it? You know, they've plummeted in value. But if PSG said there's 50 million right now, would I take it? God, you're putting me on the spot. You're putting yourself on the spot, you prat. You posed the question. Since Chelsea are in for De Jong, would that open the door for United to pursue Declan Rice? No, Vic. I think Rice will go to Chelsea next year anyway. Because if people think, if Chelsea get De Jong, they won't get Rice next summer. They've just spent 300 million quid if they get De Jong. Do you think they're not going to spend anything next summer? They'll move Jorginho on to get De Jong, and then next summer they'll move Kante on to get Rice. They'll get them both. That's what they do. Now, let me answer this question. If PSG offer £50 million for Rashford, and Rashford is happy to go, what would I do? Robert McCormack says they'll want a lot more than 50. I actually think you're right, Robert. I think they'll want more than 50, and that'll be it. 60 million at most, says Alonso. But look, let's pretend the offer's 50 million, and I'm United, and Rashford says, I'm happy to go, I'm happy to stay. Do you take it? Ordinarily, I think I would say no, but you know what? New United, new start. Surely it's better to take the 50, let him go, and bring Anthony or Gakpo in and start anew. So I'd probably take the 50, yeah. Because I think we need. I think it'd be better for Rashford. I think it'd be better for United. I'd be sad about it. I would. I do think there's a player there, and I think it's a shame what's happened. But I also think that Rashford's changed a lot in the last 2 years. I think he's unrecognisable from the young lad who was playing at 21, and not just the way he plays, but I think his body language. I think he's changed completely. which is not a surprise because most 21-year-olds change to 24. But yeah, I don't think he's happy. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't think he's happy. I don't think his game's right. I think he does need a move, and it might be empowering for him to get that move. So, but I'd be very surprised if United do it. As I say, it's more than football. This isn't. There's a lot of commercial reasons why they wouldn't do it. 50 million for Rashford. I'd right, take your hand off, says Niall. No coach can fix this. We have a group of individuals that can't be turned into a team. We need a miracle, says Kia. And also, you know, that's another good point. What's Rashford's influence in the dressing room? How powerful is he? If you take Rashford out and you bring Gakpo in, do you remove, not an issue, but do you remove, you know what I mean? Like, maybe the dressing room needs mixing up anyway. People have said the same about Ronaldo, haven't they? Mario says, it's nice saying sell Rashford and get Gakpo, but we would still have no squad depth. Arnold must sign Anthony and Frankie de Jong. If not, he must be shown the door. And winning this weekend is crucial, as losing would make us even less attractive to top players, says Mariago. It's a must-win game. Must-win game on Saturday. Simple as that. Thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Smash a like on the video. If you want to join the Members Club, we've got a live chat link in the live chat, or click the join button. Exclusive video content for you to check out on there. Tomorrow's a big day as well. Erik ten Hag's got his press conference. Looking forward to that. I'm sure we'll face some good questions about transfers and the team makeup as well. We'll have the morning show as well. Got a video with Ricky and Adam as well. Funnily enough, Ricky didn't even know about this PSG story when he recorded it. So he did have a few things to say about Bruno and Rashford. So make sure you check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. I think we need to move the likes of Bay, Jones, Williams, Chong, Palestri before we think of Rashford, says Mojo. Yeah, but you get a lot of money for Rashford, so you could replace him quite easily. Great show, everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.